Let's bring in Republican strategist Whitley Yates, who's also joining us. We've been talking all morning about the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and leading the U.S. delegation.
Yes, thanks, John. As top Russian officials say, they will hold talks with the United States and Saudi Arabia tomorrow, focusing on restoring ties with Ukraine and preparing for a meeting between Russian President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. I mean, overall, Whitley, we've been seeing these talks go relatively well with respect to the negotiation. The United States got a hostage back from Russia just last week, Mark Fogel, and Donald Trump has been very transparent as to where he stands. What do you expect, though, to see in the upcoming days with these negotiations?
Everything that we didn't see in the Biden administration, right? So we had a president who was basically a lackluster leader who did not lead on foreign affairs. And so now we have a president who is going to go in and advocate for America in ways that the Biden administration did not. And they are also going to make sure that when they're negotiating, that America is going to be centrist and always first, which is also something Biden did not do. So when it comes to Ukraine, when it specifically comes to Russia, is going to be making sure that Putin understands that America did not become a superpower by playing patty cake, but because they are dominant. And if you want to continue to push the lines, then we are going to push back.
True, true. You know, the thing is, it's President's Day, and President Trump was fresh off the Super Bowl, headed back to Florida over the weekend to watch what? The iconic Daytona 500. The Beast took a lap, and he was with his granddaughter. I think there was a lot of national pride there at Daytona, you know, leading into this President's Day today. You know, I don't know if you saw it, Robert, but it was actually inspirational because this president knows how to engage the American people. Like I just mentioned, the Super Bowl, Daytona. You know, he actually goes where the average American is and enjoys the celebration right along with them. What say you?
I'm glad he gets taxpayer-funded vacations. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Oh, speaking of vacations,
you're laying
okay,
off thousands of federal employees. Thousands of federal employees are losing their jobs. The economy is dipping into recessions. Eggs are $8.50 a carton, and we're watching the president partying at the Super Bowl with Kendrick Lamar and hanging out at the NASCAR race. I wish he would put the actual interest of the American people, like he said during the campaign, and focus on groceries instead of invading Greenland and conquering the Gaza Strip and going to the Super Bowl.
I had to cut you off there, Robert, with respect to vacations, because since it is President's Day, we have to talk about the legacy of Joe Biden and how many vacation days he took. Former President Joe Biden took more vacation days than any other modern United States president, spending 39% of his time in office away from the White House. So yes,
during the highest level of inflation.
Exactly.
No
so yes, Whitley, it is a massive change from what we're seeing. And to your point, we will see in these negotiations everything that we did not see from Joe Biden. But just going back to a more fun topic in terms of Daytona, were you watching, and how do you think the crowd felt when Donald Trump was there? Because I could only imagine that they were so excited to hear his voice on the speaker with hundreds of thousands of people watching this historic race.
I mean, I think it's a really great way to show people that you're there for them and that we have a president that is not on vacation, not only physically, but mentally, which is what we had previously. But you're going to events and you're connecting with the American people each and every day. Now, he's doing all of this while also cutting the bloat in government, while also securing our sovereignty and safety by closing up the border. And so he has not even been in office 2 months. And he has done events, speaking engagements, and he has been acting on his Agenda 47 that he proposed, working on many of the things that Americans wanted to see. And if we do want to talk about why eggs are so high, we can definitely thank the Biden administration for that.
You know, Robert, let's go back to what you said before. And as Krisha pointed out, Biden has taken more vacations than any other president. And then when you factor in the wildfires in California, Newsom was lost and missing in action. And then when you factor in Mayor Karen Bass out of the country during this impending wildfire, they already knew that it was a likelihood that wildfires would break out, but she still went out of the country to a wedding in Africa. So when you look at all these levels and branches of government on the Democrat side, they're missing in action. And you have the nerve to come on First Edition on Newsmax too and actually point the finger at President Trump for showing up at a historic event that the American people love, as well as the Super Bowl. It's not like he's laying on the beach sipping margaritas.
The president literally has a gold-plated resort that he hangs out at when he's not at the White House with Elon Musk and the other billionaires who currently now run the economy. I think the American people are very concerned about this prospect of having a president that is not working in the interest of the American people, but rather simply using this as an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, go to the Indy 500, hang out. Also, while we're talking about sports, let's talk about that DEI slam dunk competition that they had, where they lowered the criteria and say you no longer have to be an NBA player, you don't have to be an NBA star, so they could get a white player, Matt McClung, to be able to win the slam dunk competition, even though he's not an NBA player. I think we're going to start talking about these DEI issues and all the efforts they're going to do. Why are we introducing DEI into sports just to be able to market to new groups? I think when we talk about what the Trump administration has done in the last 20 days, essentially, to destroy America, I think you're seeing in polling right now, most of the American people do not support this. They do not support this agenda. They were voting for groceries and eggs and instead got a autocratic oligarchic takeover of the United States government.
I don't know what polling you're looking at, Robert. Most of America actually does support this. We saw this in the CBS YouGov poll where over 50% of Americans are feeling very strong about Donald Trump and what he's doing with respect to a mandate. And specifically, just going back to your point about Mar-a-Lago, Whitley, I want to hear your point, your commentary as well. I mean, that's a place where Donald Trump is meeting with world leaders, and also he can do multiple things at once. Even during the Super Bowl, Donald Trump was talking about saving us our hard-earned taxpayer dollars with respect to cutting back on pennies that are costing us 3 cents per 1 penny. I mean, he's doing so many different things. It makes sense he's at Daytona 500 because he has the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Robert is regurgitating a lot of those left-leaning talking points that lost them the election. So kudos to you. Continue to do that because you will continue to lose with those perspectives. The truth is, Trump did not even need to become president to go to the Super Bowl. As you stated, he is a billionaire. And if he wanted to go to the Super Bowl, heck, if he wanted to own his own team, he could. So stop acting like he's utilizing the presidency to have access to these types of events. No, he is going where the people is and showing up specifically for the people. And what that's doing is it's continuing the momentum that he built during the campaign. Now, the Democrats have a hard time understanding that. Once again, they were astroturfing their momentum. They were paying for their momentum. But this is true momentum, and it's making Americans really feel like we have pride in this country, as you saw in that hockey match with Canada versus USA. I mean, our patriotism is at an all-time high. You will not disrespect America at any point in time, boo our national anthem, and you're going to walk out losers like they did. And so we are seeing a restored sense of American pride. And that is something that you really can't even encapsulate. It's really people on the left who don't love, like, or want to be in America that have a hard time really understanding what's happening in our country right now.
Exactly. And I love my team, right? You know, the thing is, they showed the U.S. and Canada fights and U.S. landing blow after blow. I love it.
Awesome.
But you know what? Before we close, I have to say this, Robert. You mentioned DEI and Mac McClung in the NBA All-Star dunk contest over the weekend. Well, you know what? Yeah, he is a white guy. And yeah, he did show that white guys can jump too. And he's the 3-time consecutive dunk contest championship. You know, the thing is, he brought creativity, and that's what we should embrace, diversity. Yeah. Whitley Yates, Robert Patillo, thanks so much for joining First Edition.
Thank you.